Today we are going to be talking about characters and different types of characters and how to distinguish one from the other. Okay, so the first one that we're going to talk about is typically for our main characters. These are called round characters. So if you want to think about something, being round, being filled out, that could be maybe how you could keep these straight. So a round character, we know lots of characteristic traits about them. Their personality has lots of qualities. They're more complex. We think of them more like a real person rather than just as a character in the story. And usually these are main characters because we know lots about them. Okay, so when you're thinking about characters, we're going to have two kinds. We're going to have round and we're going to have flat. But when you're thinking about round versus flat, think about how much you know about the characters. Okay, so they help keep us interested in the story. So, for example, in Finding Nemo, Marlin, the dad, would be a round character. We know a lot about him. Nemo would be a round character. We know lots about Nemo. In Rikki Tikki Tavi, Rikki Tikki would be a round character because we know kind of what he's thinking and what he's feeling, and um, kind of can see his bravery coming through. Okay, so those are round characters. Then the kind of the opposite of a round character would be a flat character. Flat characters only have just a couple of traits that we as a reader know about. Okay, there really is no depth. So I don't remember if you ever did this in your class, but um, Flat Stanley was something that they've done in elementary schools where you have like basically a two-dimensional character and you send it around to people and then they take pictures of what your Flat Stanley did with them. Okay, it's just drawn on paper. So an example of a flat character would be like a Flat Stanley. He's even called Flat. Okay, so if you ever did that, that could help you. They play usually a very simple role in the story. Usually they're like a background character or they're short lived. They might just serve one specific purpose, and that's to like move the story along, maybe. And maybe they are in there because they need to say a certain line or for some purpose like that. Okay. They're kind of boring characters in the story. So, an example would be Bruce the shark. We do not know a lot about Bruce the shark in Finding Nemo. So that would be an example of a flat character. Um, in Rikki Tikki Tavi, the cousin to Chandra, his cousin, I can't think of what his first name was, but he lived in the garden and he was the one that knew that Nagina had her eggs in there. That character, who I can't even remember his name, would be an example of a flat character. Okay, the only purpose for that character was so they would have somebody who had seen these eggs of Nagina's. Okay, so that's the difference between a round and a flat. Okay, round, we know lots about them. Flat, we know very little about them. Okay, so then further classifying characters, we also have dynamic characters. Okay, this character is someone who undergoes a change, and it's usually because of a conflict that they become someone else. Okay, it starts the story one way and then has a resolution that changes their views. So, not all round characters are dynamic. Not always does the main character go through a huge change and become different than they were in the beginning of the story. Okay, Shrek from the Shrek movies is an example of a dynamic character. He's kind of grouchy and doesn't like people and kind of hard to get along with. But then after the movie, or excuse me, towards the end of the movie, he has kind of softened his exterior. Okay, he's got a family and he's playing with them And at the beginning of the movie, he's just like total grump. Okay. Gru from the Minion movies. He would be an example of a dynamic character. He starts out only getting the girls. He adopts the girls only because he wants to use them to make these monster cookies and get back at Vector. In the end, he loves the girls and he's like goes to their music recitals and doesn't want to miss those things. That would be an example of a dynamic character because he goes through this major change. Okay, then we have static characters. So static, you could think of stay. They stay the same. They do not change. Okay, they don't change in attitude, personality, or thought. So you have all these conflicts in the story, but it doesn't really affect them as a character. They don't have some big character change that comes about because of these conflicts. So in Lion King, Scar would be an example of a static character. He stays the same throughout the story. He's mean and rude all the way through. At the end, when he tries to act like he's changed, it's only because he's trying to get the hyenas on his side again after they realize he was kind of a jerk. Okay, so that's the difference between you've got round, flat, static, and dynamic. Okay, round, characters you know lots about. Flat, like two-dimensional. You only know just a little bit about them. They might only be in the story to move it forward. Then within those characters, when you're talking about the characters changing, you have dynamic and static. They either are dynamic and go through a big change, or they're static and stay the same.